Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of UK Estate and Letting Agency. My name is Chris Watkin, and I'm bringing to you today a host of excellent people to talk about AI in estate agency. This webinar is powered by the ICG, which is a group of prop tech firms. We're not here to sell you anything. We are here to guide and support you on your journey. Today, I'm joined by Tom Hughes, and Tom Hughes, he works for CCT, who are a established ad tech company, advertising properties and doing pretty good at that. He'll say hello in a second. We've got Ben Sellers, who's the co-founder of Starbury, and we've also got Bradley Kaiser from SMS Speedway, and they've all got some great insight. We also are joined by Spencer Lawrence, who's considered by many people London's, if not UK's, leading letting agent. He, of course, obviously won't confirm or deny that. He is humble, but honestly, listen to what he has to say. He was actually on stage at EA Masters talking about the AI from the point of view of estate and letting agents. So welcome, everyone. And really, what I want to do today is talk about, a number of things. There's a lot of stuff going around about AI at the moment, and really, obviously, it's going to impact the estate agency sector. There's going to be people out there who hold optimistic views that AI will effortlessly skyrocket their profits. There's going to be other individuals who harbor concerns that AI will displace their roles and will all be like Skynet and Terminator 3000 to estate agents. And then there are people out there who are just simply overwhelmed by the intricate jargon and capabilities of AI. So today we're bringing these beautiful people together and we're going to look at how AI is reshaping the property industry and the implications for you as an agent, guiding you through the noise, distinguishing myths and facts, and then offering practical advice and opinion and strategies to integrate AI into your estate agency business. So what I want to do is kick off, and let's start off with guiding people through the noise. What are some of the biggest misconceptions about AI? And I don't want to talk about estate agents at the moment, just AI. So if someone could put your hand up, who wants to answer that one first? Bradley, and you are muted, so crack on. What are the common misconceptions about AI?
I think the common misconception is overstating where we are right now. People think that it's this, because it's got AI and it's got the intelligence part in there, people think that it's capable of doing a lot more than what it currently is capable of doing. Having said that, it's capable of doing a lot right now, but it's not a thinking machine. It's not conscious. It's not the same as having another human next to you. It can help leverage up human ability and work alongside humans, but quite a lot of people's expectations right now are in the realm of science fiction. Where it is going is a separate question, but where it is right now is that it's a useful tool, should be a part of your strategy, should be a part of your thinking, but don't be over optimistic about the results right now.
I mean, would you say there's any misconceptions about AI in estate agency itself?
Very definitely. I think you summed it up very well in your introduction, in that there's two camps: those who are project fear, to reuse an old phrase, where they're very worried about it's going to take away jobs, it's going to take away my business, everything's going to be fully done by some cyborg. And then in the other camp is project optimism, where people are thinking, okay, I can really use this to step up another level. And to a degree you can, but if you use it correctly, working alongside what you already have in place and your humans, but sitting in between, probably the astute way of looking at it is to say, what can this deliver for me right now? But there certainly is a lot of over optimism on the one side and over negativity on the other side, as you summed up, Chris.
Ben, what have you got to say on the matter?
Well, it reminds me a bit of me trying to flog the internet in 1994. It was, everyone thought it was smoke and mirrors, and what is this, and we won't need it, and isn't that full of porn sites, and it was all that sort of throwaway kind of pub chat. And at the time, they were not far wrong. There was dial up, and it was all very ropey. The difference is that we've got the foundations now. We've got the internet, we've got broadband, we've got 5G in our pocket, and these servers, these incredible, machines, as they like to be called, have been chomping away, reading every single bit of content that sits it out in the world, learning, continuously learning. And so this time round, although we're in the similar place where many people, I mean, I read a statistic the other day that something like 60-70% of people in business have still not tried anything to do with AI. So in other words, they haven't used the Amazon equivalent of back in 1996 ChatGPT. So they don't know anything about it. But this time it is moving at the speed of light. It is moving so fast that you blink and you're going to miss something. So I really urge people to fire up ChatGPT, because that is the best place to get an instant experience and start learning.
Tom, what have you got to say on the matter in terms of where we are at the moment? And then I'd like to come to Spencer after you, please.
Sure. Look, we've been working with AI for over 10 years. I think the big difference now is the public consciousness and your ability to interact with a generative AI like ChatGPT. You can actually have those conversations with it. And it's interesting, I think if we had this conversation 3 months ago, you would get some very different answers to what you get today. And if we repeat this conversation in 3 months, you're going to get some very different answers again, because the capabilities are changing so quickly. We're still on the upward trajectory on this innovation curve. I think that it can be transformative, but I think today there's some of the things that I'd like to talk about, the principles and how you should think about this technology. Because if you try and delve too deeply into practices, the opportunities and the practice are going to change. But as Bradley was saying, the human to human contact element, if that's core to your business, then how can AI help you deliver good quality human to human contact and get more out of your time? I think that's an interesting question to try and address.
We will go down that rabbit hole in a second. Spencer, where are you with AI?
To be brutally honest, as an individual, some way off it, I would say. There are others in the business that are far more suited to this than I. I think what we're acutely aware of, that we need to join the party. And I think in agency, there's this sort of general thing, when anything new comes in, and this is almost certainly the biggest thing that we will experience in the next few years in terms of change, is the need for a collaborative approach and a sort of understanding of how it's going to suit an individual business and help the individuals within it. And I just get the sense that for me, collaboration has sort of changed the way we operate. And there's a lot of uncertainty, there's a lot of fear, talking about myself. But I think there's a great opportunity here to, seek out great advice from specialists, and then also to compare and sort of measure and adjust what's working for you in terms of your business from an AI perspective, and then, really learn from others. So as the computers learn at an extraordinary rate, it's a great opportunity for us to learn as a group together to try and ultimately produce a better outcome for the audience.
It's interesting that a very good friend of mine, known to a lot of people, John Paul, went over to the big estate agency real estate conference in America, and the one thing that he took away is that AI won't replace estate agents, but what it will do is it might replace you as an estate agent if you're not using it and someone else is. And I think it was Tom that said human to human and you said collaboration, Spencer, is at the end of the day, we are in a service industry as estate agents. We are getting lots of stuff coming in, but let's be honest, we're not very good at it, are we? As estate agents, we don't call people back. We don't build relationships up with people. And this is where I think AI can take the heavy lifting up. AI is not going to replace estate agents, is it? Put your shout
I don't
up.
think it's going to replace estate agents, but I think that we will be shocked by how much it can actually do that an estate agent currently, and I'm going to use the word busy fool and I can use it for myself as well. It's not aimed at estate agents, but we're all busy fools. We all spend a lot of our time doing inane work, admin work that a computer could do, and a piece of code could do.
The classic £10 an hour jobs, £100 an hour, and £1,000 an hour jobs. We all get guilty of getting sucked into the £10 an hour jobs, especially. And Spencer, you're mainly a letting agent. You letting agents are perfectionists. I know estate agents are, and AI could certainly do some of the heavy lifting there, couldn't it? Because everybody says we're in a people business, but if you actually look at it and looked at most agents, we're not, are we? So I think go on, Spencer.
I feel on that the viewpoint is it's going to increase our consistency, and particularly in the realms of lettings, in the compliance aspect. Ultimately the job here is not to just jump through loads of hoops because people want to make our lives difficult. It's about making the people who live in those properties safe. So we've all had an off day. We all miss things. And things like gas safeties, etc., they're absolutely critical. It's they're done correctly. Seasonal changes it can help with. If there's holiday sickness, maternity, paternity, all these other bits and pieces to think about. The heavily lifting piece is removing the admin level of what you're doing and create space to be more creative in your thought process to take your businesses forward.
Tom?
I think that's right. I think you have, time-saving opportunities on repeatable tasks that don't really add value, but they are, compliance, they're a necessity. But then if you also look at what the big tech companies are doing, everybody's talking about this co-pilot theory. So something that sits next to you as you do your job, and it helps you say, hey, you might have missed this. Maybe you could answer a question in another way. So it can, if you connect it to the right data sources, you can get into a world where you're having very good quality conversations that can only really be delivered well by a human, but they're so much more enriched. And I think that those opportunities are enormous. And you can imagine a world where, I think OpenAI recently did their Dev Day, and they did a demonstration of somebody connecting their calendar to ChatGPT and kind of scheduling their day out for them. If you put that into a state agency and you had 3 valuations in a day or 2 viewings and a valuation, it could plot your route. It could work out, okay, you're going to have a certain amount of time in between that time. And it could show you, if you connect it to the data, here's some other properties on the market in and around that location that you could go and door knock in between your appointments. Now that at the moment would take you quite a significant amount of time to do. And this stuff, as they get, and again, this is where the innovation curve comes in. This was only announced a couple of weeks ago, that you can kind of build these things that they call a GPT yourself without any coding experience. So I'm not a coder, but I can explain what I want. And that now becomes the barrier to entry. So if you connect your calendar, you connect a feed of Rightmove data, you have a kind of door knocking service. If you connect your Canva service or whatever design application you're using, you can build bespoke material to go with you that could be printed before you go. So these are the kind of applications where you have this kind of co-pilot mentality, which is someone sit on my shoulder and help me out with my day-to-day, and it's going to change and it's going to evolve. What can you bring to the party? Give me all the context that I need. And then you have some of the stuff you were talking about there, Spencer, which is take away all the boring stuff so I can actually talk to people. And I think that's what estate agents are good at, if you remind them which ones are the ones they should be talking to.
Ben?
Yeah, on the subject of, what we will then be able to do is we'll be able to talk to people a lot more. And one of my big things, and I've been harping on about it forever, and we're actually doing it on this session right now, is recordings. Having recordings of everything you do. At the moment, it's great. You can go back and there's a transcription if you want to read through it or you want to listen back. But as we all know, we're on back-to-back calls. And so that adds up to being, maybe 8 hours a day of recordings. And already, even with Zoom, there are summaries now. So you've just got your AI summary and it pulls out all of the meaty bits that you need to remember. So immediately saving time. You can focus more on the conversation. And I also use, and I've said this previously as well, but many people don't know about it, Otter.ai. You can have that on your phone, and actually is what drives the Zoom one. But imagine all this data now into your intelligent CRM that is now picking up all that information. And for example, one of your team negotiators on a call and they're booking a viewing. But they didn't ask whether they had a property to sell or, indeed whether they needed a mortgage. Before you had to listen to all the calls. Now you can program the AI to surface all those watchwords and actually go, these were your missed opportunities, sort your training out. So there's just some amazing stuff that none of us should be scared of. It's just going to make us better at what we do.
And I'm aware that there's also software out there that will not only summarize what people have said, but if you've got, say, some neg who's doing, should we say, things they shouldn't be doing, if you know what I mean, coercive selling and things like that, it can listen in onto the conversation and flag that up to the bosses. Because, I'm sure, if you talk to certain corporate estate agents, their bosses will say, we don't do any of this coercive selling, but they obviously can't keep an eye on all of the hundreds of offices, can they? But then that brings into a point of, should we be scared of this? I mean, there's accountability on one side, but surely this is Big Brother, isn't it? Tom?
Well, I think to a degree, yes, but with all of this stuff, with anything to do with data security, especially in a professional sense, if I'm not doing anything wrong, I would flip it around to, okay, well, how can I use this to get better at my job? You've effectively got someone sat on your shoulder that can give you call coaching by listening to every single call you take every day and flag potential risks with you of things that you could be doing wrong. So it is a bit Big Brother, of course it is. But if you're not trying to do anything wrong, then instead of seeing it as a threat to your misbehavior, see it as an opportunity to improve the outcome you're trying to get, which is earn more in commission.
Bradley?
Just picking up on what Ben and Tom were saying there, in terms of it can give you a lot of efficiency, but it can also be your big friend rather than Big Brother. And I'll give some examples. For example, it can help you create much better presentations than you otherwise would have done. Say you get a property through the door and you want to reword the description in a really punchy manner. Well, right now you can go to ChatGPT and say, this is what I want to say about the property, and we'll make some very good suggestions for you. Similarly, you can take images that perhaps might not be as clear or might not be as good, and there's AI built into, for example, some of the Adobe products, or you can use Midjourney or some of these other AIs that will make that image really pop and stand out, and it will help you create supplementary images that will help you tell your story, help you make your sales case. So in that sense, it can help you both with organizing your day, as Ben was saying, having a look through your calendar and everything else. But as Tom was saying, to help you actually become better at your job. And it's quite a big leg up for free, which makes you as an agent perform better and bring the best of you out. So I'd say, rather than fearing it, you should see it as self-improvement and a sort of fast track on, identifying your weak spots and maximizing your strengths.
Spencer, I'd like to talk about as from an agent's point of view. One side is it being a policeman or keeping an eye. Do you fear, obviously not in your agency because, Paramount is amazing, but you obviously can't be aware of every conversation that all your team are having. Do you like the fact that it could keep I hate to say this, but keep an eye on it, but just keep them accountable so Floss is not doing anything dodgy? Do you like that idea?
Not particularly. I know that's very possible, but I think in the context of how this is going to be used in our environment is, as Tom alluded to, this is a tool of betterment. It's going to allow people to let go of the things that are just a drag and focus on more meaningful conversation. And the way I see, AI is, working behind the scenes. It's like the old-fashioned door knocking. So when you arrive, obviously that's virtual, you arrive in the morning and you know who to call first, who are more likely to transact, who are more likely to want to speak to you because they've looked at something, they've done something online. And I just think for me, it's just an amazing tool to cut out the white noise. So we talk about this sort of phenomenon like yellow t-shirts. So before AI, we've got 100 people in the room and they're all wearing black tops, but 3 of them have got yellow t-shirts on. How do we know out of the 100 to find those yellow t-shirts? The yellow t-shirts are the ones who want to do something. They want to sell, they want to buy, they want to rent, whatever it is, look for a new one. And actually, this mechanism, this tool of betterment actually just takes the black top off. So in the morning you rock up and the yellow t-shirts are there right in front of your face. So your strike rate, your enthusiasm for the job, your propensity to do well, Tom mentioned, higher fees. I think the fees will happen more regularly as well. I don't know, higher fees, I think that depends on your geography and bits and pieces. But, to use it as a big brother tool, I think there has to be a huge swathe of trust in any organization. So that's not how we would use it, and it would be, this is to help everyone remove the repetitive red so we can provide a better service and get better strike rates across the board.
Would it be fair to say, I mean, let's be honest though, Paramount is slightly forward thinking in terms of the way it approaches. It really comes down to the leadership and whether they're going to use it as a policeman or as a guide and support to move their people forward. Ben, what's your thoughts?
Well, I was just going to say, what we all need to realize is that this AI is really focused on predictions. And I think that's what you were getting at there, Spencer, is it just doing such an incredible job through the mass of information that it can look at and read to make the best predictions. So in theory, we should be able to get to the end result a lot quicker because we don't have to thumb through our Rolodexes. We don't have to, fumble through our calendars. It's doing it en masse. It knows yellow shirts from, a million miles off. And just does that in a split second. So I think that, the whole way, when you look at it, there was the Telegraph did an amazing sort of visual map of the way AI is working. It's all the distances from words to other words and how it's marrying, good versus bad or, location related things, so that once you've mentioned, Paris or something in a conversation, you can then say, I want to live near there. And you don't need to say Paris again because it's already mapped the there and the location that you mentioned. So it's like a whole nother way, and you have to actually understand it. I think it's something that we've all got to learn more about.
Okay, let's go Tom and then Brad, but then I do want to bring it back a bit more into reality with the state agency, but let's just go down that rabbit hole for 2 more, then we'll bring it back a bit. Okay, Tom.
Sure. I think just building on what Ben said there, to kind of understand the capabilities, you also have to feed it with the right data. And I think that having, talking to your CRM provider will be incredibly important here. I mean, when we use, I think about AI really as just listening and reacting, but based on the world's best memory and contextual understanding of everything. So with our system, we have been using it for many years. We just don't interact with it like you interact with ChatGPT. But someone goes onto your website, they click book a viewing, that gets a higher score, a bigger interaction score than they would if they just flick through the photos. and we react and we adapt our campaign then based on what the user is doing there. So AI is kind of like that, but what we're doing is feeding the data through in a very consistent and structured way. And I think that the future of AI and the ability for any agent really to implement it in some of the ways we've been talking about is you have to get your house in order with data. One of the big benefits of what's being done now is you don't quite have to structure it in the same way you used to. You don't need to sit there and cleanse and do big sort of spreadsheets, because the way these things work now is they can read PDFs, they can read videos, they can listen to your calls, they can do all of it. And it doesn't need to be a structured database in the same way as you would have had a few years ago to get the benefit from it. So I think that all of these capabilities that we're talking about are going to be possible in the very near future, but you should be thinking about, okay, where do I want to interact with this? Probably majority of the time within the CRM system. And also, how do I make sure it's being fed with all of that relevant information so it can help me with these decisions that I want to make?
Good stuff. I've written down, I want to go down the CRM route in a second. So Bradley, don't touch CRMs, but add something before we go down the CRM rabbit hole.
Thanks, Chris. That's actually a good segue into what I wanted to say, because obviously our service sits just before the CRMs. And one of the most exciting things that we've been playing around with in our labs has been with intelligent communication around a property, and taking some of the very good data feeds that are available out there from various suppliers around where the property sits in the location, proximity to schools and these kind of things, and then bringing intelligent communication. So when someone's, for example, making an inquiry about a property, and they can say, I have 2 small children, it can say, well, there's this primary school next to it, and there's these bus routes that might be of use, and it can be a bit more intelligent around understanding who it's talking to and matching that to the information it understands about the property in question and the environment it sits in. And that has proved to be very flexible in terms of what AIs right now can deliver. So this isn't technology that's future, that's right now, just based on this ability to predict what someone, has been alluded to. The AI is all about prediction, and if you know a certain amount of information from someone during conversation, you can infer that if they've got children, they'll probably be interested in a school, and then you can get that data and you can bring it into the conversation and help drive it forward. Okay,
right, let's start moving forward a little bit. In the UK, we have a number of large CRM firms. Should the Joe Blow and Joe Blow in both lady and man, Joe Blow real estate agent in Finchley, should they be looking towards their CRM to come up with things because let's be honest, everything seems to revolve around the CRM at the moment. But if you don't mind me saying, most CRMs in the UK at the moment are, quite frankly, legacy, 20 years old, big, huge databases. Is this an opportunity for new CRMs, or are the CRMs going to be able to have, a lot of them having like plugins where you can pimp up your CRM? Where is it? Whose responsibility is it? Is it the CRMs, or is it the firms that deal with those CRMs to pimp them up to bring AI into their CRM? Throw your hands up. Come on. Yeah, go to.
So I feel like that the barrier to entry here is very low. So the first step I would take would be to open a ChatGPT account and start having a play and start to think about how you want to use the technology. Then I would be sharing that with your CRM.
Hold on a second, Tom. We've all done the funny pictures on CRM, but I mean, and we've all asked it to write a brochure, but this is really basement level stuff. If you get a member of the public playing with ChatGPT, they will not make the connection of, right, this is going to help me. They're just going to think this is a fun...
No, but in the context of, if I own an estate agency business, I'm not going to sit and ask it to draw me a picture. I'm going to go in and say, okay, here's my calendar for the day. What could I like test your theories of how you think you'd like to use it? you may as well start doing that yourself as an initial test to get a feel for what can this do. If I feed it some information, it gives me some stuff back. What could this do? Then I'd share those ideas with your CRM provider and see what kind of thing, what direction are they heading in, and challenge them on where are you going to take this product in order for me to be able to use technology like this and beyond. And then I think I've seen, companies like Rex Labs and Street Group are integrated with things like Zapier, and with Zapier you can then integrate with the GPT account. So that kind of connectivity where, like you say, Chris, a plugin, so a plugin to Zapier would then enable you to actually kind of do some of this stuff yourself without, again, there are no code solutions. So if you can kind of dream it, you can do it.
Spencer, correct me if I'm wrong, but estate agents and letting agents just want plug and play. They don't want to be getting different accounts, do they? They just want a solution. Here's my money, sort it for me.
I think that type of agency won't survive, in my humble opinion. I think with what's going on here, like the options are, be the change, be part of the change, or be engulfed by change. They're your options in agency. And if you're going to wait for the latter, you're in big trouble. So for me, you mentioned the legacy piece. I think a lot of the big CRMs, and I'm not going to mention any for obvious reasons, but they should be looking over their shoulders, because what worked before is just not going to work now. And you can pimp it up and you can plug it and you can do all these different things, but ultimately you're still running off something that's ultimately quite clunky. And I think with the AI side of things, the business ends up with a solution finally that befits their values, their business model, and the customers they're trying to attract.
Brad, thank you.
Can I make a bold statement that any CRM that isn't radically looking over their shoulder, to quote you, Spencer, will probably be in severe trouble within the next 2 years. Because if you think about what a CRM is, the clue's in the name. It's a customer relationship system. So this is all about turning your information about who your customers are, what your properties are, and the various contact details and everything you have within the CRM. Its purpose is to enable agents to do things in their jobs, to get those properties out, to get the inquiries in, to get the lists of who their tenants are when the tenancies are due, when they're expiring, and all these other good things. Now, what AI does is it makes that information vastly more useful than the legacy technology ever has. So for an agent, you want to be able to sit down and say, what's on my calendar for today, and give you the schedule, to say, who are my most likely prospects, and for it to rank it for you, to say, which customer is most likely going to buy this property, give me the top 10, and to call them, and those various things. It's got to turn data into information, and AI can do that. And the companies that are not working on it right now to convert their system over to build these intelligent features into the CRMs probably won't have a business in 2 years' time or further. There's another threat to the CRMs as well, in that AI makes your software very much more adaptable. Tom mentioned Zapier, and Ben has alluded to quite a few software suites as well. But the external CRMs like HubSpot and Salesforce and all of these other CRMs that aren't property CRMs, but with the advent of AI and the flexibility of AI, empowering these systems that are keeping up with technology to adapt, that's going to start becoming much easier to encroach on specific sectors like the property sector, where you have incumbents that have relied on the fact that they tailored for the sector. Now you've got more flexible general tools that will start approaching onto that territory as well. So there's a double threat here, and the way that the incumbent CRMs can adapt to it is to build this AI in from the grassroots up, and to understand it's about the data, and the data is gold.
It's interesting that, I mean, a lot of people have said that the two things that actually made a state agency but ruined a state agency were the portals and the CRMs. You know, some of us with grey hair or no hair can remember the days of hot boxes. And, you know, so you actually manually matched whilst, and now they go into the CRM and they get lost forever. And negs always archive them after 2 nanoseconds. And then we all know what the portals have done with the state agency. I mean, there was actually this morning, there was a point where someone actually made a point that AI could actually be the death nail of the portals as well. But that's another story for another day. Ben, I'd like you just to add something, but then I do have some questions with regard to data protection before we continue on down this rabbit hole. So Ben, what have you got to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, you know, I mean, we beat around the bush. You know, the CRMs basically have been broken for as long as I've been doing what I do, and that's been 23 years of working in a state agency. You know, the concept, the phrase single source of truth is just been so far from the truth, hasn't it, for so long? And it is basically what has hindered a state agency. It's hindered, you know, some amazing companies like Spencer, you know, an amazing operation, but you have to hack systems. You know, I know that you can't say it does what you want it to do and it doesn't do it as fast. I equally know, as much as I'm not a massive fan of defending a CRM, that it's a big job for some of these guys who have got, you know, thousands of clients. But you know, the problem is the moment we get to a point where we have to start exporting our data in order to do something intelligent with it, is when you know that you've got one foot out the door and you're going to be heading to the place where they actually do it right. And funnily enough, and we mentioned HubSpot and Salesforce, those guys, they've been sat there, oh no, they're a marketing CRM. No, they're marketing CRM. They're not property. They can't put property listings up. They can't deal with applicants and all the rest of it. Well, the reality is a combination of AI and those intelligent marketing CRMs, which are by no means perfect, but they're in a different league. You know, they connect, they have open APIs that are actually open. You know, that means two-way data flowing in real time. This is where AI comes into its own. The moment that data is all disconnected and everything's disconnected, it just screws the magic, you know, completely. So I think that, you know, before we know it, we're either going to get some of the hero CRMs, and a big one up for Heather Street, and you know, some of the others, but or we're going to be jumping ship and we're going to be moving ourselves into some marketing CRMs that have been fueling the world for years.
Spencer, you'll be amazed the amount of forward-thinking agents who are building their own CRMs at the moment. I'm surprised you haven't even started that one, my friend, because you're in there. They're in there. You haven't, have you? Or you're not saying anything? He's not saying anything.
No, not saying anything.
There you go. You heard it. Didn't hear it here first. Right. Let's just go down a little cul-de-sac just for a second. We've had Adele contact us about the intellectual rights and the data protection of ChatGPT versus the CRMs. And Trevor is also asking about data protection and the privacy. Has anyone got anything to say here on that? Bradley. We always think you would come in and save the day on this one. Go for it.
Thanks, Chris. This is something we obviously have to pay very careful attention to, you know, being in communications. And I can say that what any good advice is, read the fine print. At the moment, the way it stands with OpenAI, all of the data processing takes place over in the US, unless you are on their enterprise tier, which is very expensive, and I will almost guarantee no agency would be paying for that, in which case you can locate your data in the EU and have it locked down there. This sounds very technical, but it matters where the data is held and where it's processed, because that determines the regulatory framework that it sits in. And as things stand right now, there isn't a relationship that is truly GDPR compliant. I know a few people will shoot me down because they'll say there's contractual clauses. But since the collapse of Privacy Shield, which was the regulatory framework that allowed US processors to have equivalence to the EU GDPR laws, since the breakdown of that, your data processing really needs to be held within the EU or the UK, unless there are specific contractual clauses that cover you. As it happens with the available options, and we'll use OpenAI as an example, if you use their API and the thing called their data analytics, you can get those contractual clauses, so you can be covered, and they do guarantee that the data is uploaded, processed, and disappears without any interception or any storage. If you're using the free version of ChatGPT and a lot of these other AIs, in the fine print, you'll find that they retain the right to use what you do for training purposes and for improving their models. That's not the same as they are storing your data, but storing the metadata, storing the information about what you've been querying in itself could lead to some data protection issues. I apologize if that was slightly technical, but that's where we stand at the moment in terms of the AIs. So the bottom line is, speak to your provider and make sure your compliance department or a lawyer looks over the fine print for you before you start uploading potential information. And the big thing here is called PD, personal data. So information about tenants, buyers, landlords, vetting, anything that can be tied back to people in the UK, you have to pay particular attention to. You can use the technology, but pay attention.
Are they really going to come down on flow estate agents from Droitwich? Or they're surely going to go after the big firms, the ICO?
In reality,
do just people just have to take a view on this one? Because let's be honest, if most people break GDPR every single day, but they don't realise it.
Yeah, in reality, the ICO, which is the Information Commissioner's Office here, which is the enforcement arm in the UK, they tend to not go after the smaller people. However, that's not to say that things can change, and they might start enforcement at scale using AI if they feel that British consumers are at risk or coming under threat. And the thing that drives this is actually fraud and leaking the personal data into the hands of organized crime, where they can target people.
Okay, right then. Okay, so let's start moving forward. Some of you said that the question I want to ask is, what are the first steps an estate agent should take when considering integrating AI into their business? Can we all agree that they need to be talking to their CRMs? Yeah?
I think they need to be talking to their CRMs, but there's plenty that they can be doing themselves.
Okay, so let's move on. What else can they be doing? Finding out. We've got coming up to Christmas. We're all going to have a week off or so. What can they be doing apart from going into ChatGPT and putting in their calendars? Let's have some practical stuff here. Brad.
I've spoken quite a lot on this, my apologies. I would say talk to all your suppliers, because if you have a supplier in your business, they are there for a reason. They are contributing to your business in some form. If they're the CRM, it's for the CRM stuff. If they're your board, smart boards, your communications, your various channels, your data suppliers, talk to all your suppliers and say, what are you doing about AI? How are you using AI to make your service more valuable to me? And how can I use what you're doing in AI to get greater value out of my spend with you? Because at the end of the day, AI should be delivering greater value to you for whatever money you're spending on your systems. So talk to all your suppliers, including the CRM, but not limited to.
Ben.
So I think that it's actually worth sitting down and getting your notes open and writing down, what do you do? Like, what do you do every day? Break down every single, go and have some pissy lunch or something with all your colleagues and actually just start spitting it out. What do we do? Could we do it? What do we do? Could we do it? You know,
Well,
and that's
like John Paul says, systemize your business, put a roadmap out there. God's sake, this is cutting edge stuff.
Put your roadmap. I can almost guarantee that there is a bit of software. And when we casually say, don't just put ChatGPT. Well, I can pretty well tell you that ChatGPT could do most of it for you before you even look. So I would say, just look at it as Amazon, ChatGPT. Now, where are we buying all our stuff from? Amazon. Here we are 21 over years on. We're still doing it. Saying that, your Google AIs and all the rest of it are not going to be sat doing nothing either. They're firmly going to be steamrolling in, as is our friend Elon and plenty of others, But yeah, write your list, actually put down, score it if you need to, how much human power is going to be needed, like natural human humor, love, compassion, all of that stuff. Do yourself, wicked sales capabilities, and anything that doesn't fit that bill with emotion wrapped into it, you could probably put through the machine, So just start with that list and then start ticking them off and giving them a try. The beauty, by the way, is in the old days, it was like, oh yeah, nice idea. Now let's go find an agency or a developer or something. You just don't need anyone anymore. You can just do this stuff and get a POC, proof of concept, up and running after this call once we're finished here. That's the beauty.
Are you telling me that estate agencies are going to have to be working on the business and not necessarily in the business, guiding and driving their businesses forward? My God, this is cutting edge stuff. Spencer, talk to me.
A few things. So very practical. We've discussed with the team before they do any task, just simply think or write down, should I really be doing this? And we're getting a list of things that ultimately people are doing, but they don't really want to do, and seeing if we can take those things away first. Right. Because if AI then solves that problem, wow, this thing has taken away those things that I really don't like, that the trust element in it will build up, and then you can start progressing it through your business. I think from a coaching and training perspective, you can go from 0 to hero much faster. So you can get people battle ready super fast, with all the different things that AI can do. And then as an individual, like in terms of each individual business, look at it from a learning perspective. This enables me to learn faster by taking away this other stuff that I need to do. So your team will have more time. You can hang around with them more often. You can hang around with your audience on a more regular basis, really very important. You can focus on your networking, which is effectively the only really way how we're going to get better, by sharing ideas, particularly in the tiny property ecosystem. And then let's not forget, yours truly, where you can have a little bit more time for yourself to do the things that, that you're passionate about, that maybe you just feel, oh, I'm so tired or bogged down, I can't do it. That's the way I see it.
I tell you what, the rest of you on this call, unless you've got something important to say, I'm going to call it there, because that was absolutely exceptional. Has anyone got anything that can beat that? Or something that's on your chest you've got to say? Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to call it 9 minutes early, because if you are going to do anything, listen to that last 60 seconds from Spencer. There is a reason why he's considered one of the best agents in the UK. Listen to what he's got to say. The magic thing is this. You speak with your CRM, speak with your suppliers, speak with your team. Do what Spencer says. Write down everything that you don't want to really do, and then go and see if you can do it. And actually go to ChatGPT and type it in. It really is that good. Listen to webinars like this, talk to people, do your homework. There's this thing, take this website down, YOUTUBE. It's a new website. And on that, type in AI in a state agency or AI in real estate, because it's different things around the UK and around the world. And do your homework, because at the end of the day, the world has changed, ladies and gentlemen. That's not your fault, but it certainly is your responsibility to change to it. The AI has been let out of the bag. You can't change that, but use it. It's not going to replace estate agents, but it's going to take away all the crappy jobs that enable you to do the stuff that we are designed to do, which is put people move from one house to another. And if we can get that done in a better way, in a more personal way, then everybody's going to win with AI. Yes, it's going to make some estate agents run a mile, but those with open eyes and open hearts and open brains will go and find it out, do it themselves, and you'll win big time in the years to come. I'd like everyone to wave goodbye. Thank you on behalf of the ICG, the Innovation Collaboration Group. I'd like to thank Gopu from Starbury, who's kindly organised this, an absolute star of Starbury. I'd like to thank our guests today, Spencer Lawrence, Tom Hughes, Brad, and Ben. But more importantly, thank you for watching, and we hope you've found some insight. Do find out if you need contact details on these people, then you can get them on the ICG website, or there's this new website called LinkedIn, which you go and find these wonderful people. And we'll see you next year in the ICG webinars, where we can hopefully guide and support you on your journey to be better letting and estate agents. Thanks very much, everyone. Let's say goodbye.
Bye, everyone.